Hello, my lovely friends, and welcome back to a new Living Life Naturally podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to have Debbie Harris with me, all the way from beautiful Connecticut. And she is going to share some things that she's really got on her heart for today that I think that you will find very helpful. So, first of all, Debbie, welcome to our podcast. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself and what is, because I know you've done some transitioning lately. So give us your update and a little about you.
I thank you. I am an author. In fact, my Dieting Sucks for Women Over 40 just won an award last week. And that book really does deal with the issue of trying everything you've done before, because I had a weight issue all my life. And then finding in menopause, you bang your head against the wall.
Yeah.
Unless you were going to take a knife, nothing was going to work. I am an integrative nutrition health coach. I've been a certified hypnotist for over 20 years. And I use that for relaxation now when I talk with people. And a few months ago, I became a certified menopause coaching specialist, which is fairly new. And about 3 weeks ago, my TEDx came out, and the title of that is 3 Steps to Conquering Menopause. And the reason I bring that up is because after I wrote the book, I realized there's so much other information. I mean, weight, yes, weight is something that drives women crazy, and it's often the catalyst. But the bottom line is women are not being given the information that we need. Doctors are not properly trained for the most part, although that is changing slowly. And I believe that every woman should build her own menopause map, because we're all unique.
Yes.
And so I focus on a lot of different areas where I want women to feel comfortable. My recent 6-week newsletters on LinkedIn that start next week is really all about sex. It's all about intimacy, a subject that, for whatever reason, in midlife, we're not talking about. When we're younger, we can't shut up about it.
Right.
But for some reason, we feel that there is this kind of shame or embarrassment about talking about it later on. So,
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah. And of course, I was brought up in England, and so sex was everywhere. We talked about it all the time. And you're right, then we would get to the midlife phase, the menopause phase, and there was no conversation whatsoever. So I know you're on a journey like me to make sure that the word gets out there and we can educate women on what it truly is all about. And
yes,
as you say, every woman is unique, so we can give them ideas of what it will be like, but it's very personal for each person.
absolutely. And I've had many younger women say, "I'm so glad I have this information now, because I can at least prepare and do some preventative things and just be aware of what might be happening, instead of thinking, oh my God, what is going on?" And I've had many men say one of two things. One, I wish my wife had met you. We might not be divorced. And two, how do I help my partner? What do I do? Because as my husband said when I was going through a lot of this, you're like bat crap crazy. Like, I don't know what's going on. So there's a lot of issues here, as you very well know, Lynn. There's a rise in the divorce rate in those ages. There's actually a rise in the suicide rate for women in those ages. this is something we need to address, I believe, and it's not just here in the United States. As a global society, the whole issue of midlife women really being treated with the respect and the well, I guess the respect that they've earned and that they deserve, the way it used to be.
Yeah, I can relate to that because I think many of us go into a doctor's office and can kind of anticipate that they pat you on the head, oh, it's all right, dear, just go off and you'll be fine. And no, you won't be fine unless you have some good techniques under your belt to help you get through that period. And I think that having some close friends that you can talk to and talk with, compare notes, is
Yes,
really a great thing.
yes. So perhaps let's talk about some things
Okay.
that your listeners can gain some insight on. First, I will address the weight. So the 30 to Life Solution Program is not something that I invented. It is very similar to other programs where for the first 30 days, you are eliminating certain foods that tend to cause inflammation or sensitivity. So this is very important.
Hmm.
And then the next phase, you're actually bringing back foods, but you're bringing them back sort of, I say, with your Columbo hat on or Jessica Fletcher, because you're really separating when you bring them back and you're really paying attention to how do I feel? How does my body react? And then in the third phase, you're really learning how to be what I call a freedom eater, where 80% of the time you're following whatever works for you, whatever you have learned through the journey to take the weight off. You are now going to eat that way 80% of the time. But 20% of the time, you're going to go on that all-inclusive vacation or have the ice cream or the birthday cake or whatever it is. I really don't believe that any food is a never food, obviously, unless you're allergic to it.
Right.
And I teach that. I teach self-hypnosis. I teach about trigger foods. So that's the basis of that program where this all started, if you will. On the food side. Yeah. And then on the menopause symptom side, I mean, we would have to talk for days. But
Right.
one thing I do, because I actually do videos every day. And one of the simple things is, ladies, if you're having hot flashes, they can be particularly disturbing in a business meeting, at a business luncheon, maybe you're out with friends or family. So make sure that when you sit down, you have a glass of cold water with ice. And believe it or not, a man taught me this. So a glass cold water with ice. As soon as you start to feel like, as my husband says, you're getting a personal summer, or you're going to explode from the inside, grab that glass and hold it for a good 30 seconds. Now you can take a sip so nobody is paying any attention. It's a glass of water with ice. It will help you alleviate the hot flash pretty quickly. And it's something that can be done very subtly when you're around other people. So that's one thing with the hot flashes. Night sweats, I talk a lot about things you can do to help alleviate those. You know, I'm sure you know, if you have a partner, I was sleeping with, you know, the cover on and off, and he was literally in socks, sweatpants, a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, and 2 blankets. I mean, so there are things that you can do there. But it's really about the education. Most women don't know that you can now seek out a pelvic floor specialist. for issues regarding, oh my gosh, every time I sneeze, I pee, something like that. Or the issues that you might be having with physical intimacy, that there are many of us having those issues, and a pelvic floor specialist is one of the modalities, if you will, that can help with that as well. I mean, it's, there's so much. The good news is things are changing and there's a lot of options out there. Hormone replacement therapy, you have to talk to your doctor. This is not something you want to just willy-nilly dive into. And for those of you who've had breast cancer, as I have, you do not want to go down that road. And you absolutely want to talk to your physician. Supplements, there's tons of stuff out there.
Yeah.
I literally found that eating sweet potatoes helped. They say the yams, it helped me. So as I said, Lynn, we could talk for hours. It's about getting the information out there and women not feeling they're broken or that they failed, or that this statement, hey, Deb, is this as good as it's going to get? No, there is a lot more on the other side. Yeah.
There is, and that's the part that really got me started in the menopausal phase, because I think that women get to this phase of life and they almost feel like their life is over because so much changes. And yet to me, I always felt that it was a new beginning, and I think that we can approach it that way.
Yeah.
And it can be that these can be the best years of our lives.
I could not agree more. My journey to really understanding where I wanted to be of service didn't happen until after menopause, actually. And I totally agree with you. However, as you and I both know, stress of work, perhaps there's grandchildren, perhaps there's adult children at home, aging parents, just life in general, and the state of the world these days, which has many people stressed. That doesn't help when you're sitting there going, oh, sure, easy for them to say. They're already on the other side, So, but it does. I think what happens is you get to a point where you simply don't give a crap anymore. I'm using good language. Where, what people think of you, what kind of an impression you're going to make. Do I look perfect? So much of this goes.
Yes.
And then the question is, how do you really focus in on what you want? And unfortunately, many women are looking around at their lives and going, well, my life must be wrong. My life must be broken. I must need to make major changes. I must need to get a divorce, get a different job, move somewhere else, because so much is happening that it's hard to figure out what's what. So I encourage anyone out there, if you are struggling with stress, with anxiety, with depression, talk to someone. There are numerous professionals out there that's their job, is to help you. And don't forget, there are sex therapists out there. It is a real thing. And they are there to also help maneuver through some of what's happening. So, yeah.
Yeah, so many pieces in this time of life. And so when talking about somebody that maybe hasn't had breast cancer, what kind of a doctor would you say that they should go to see about getting on hormone therapy or not?
Well, first of all, start with if you have an OBGYN, which most women do, start there. if your OBGYN is not open to the conversation, and one more thing, I am also teaching women how to utilize artificial intelligence, because no, not everything that comes out is gospel, but it is an amazing opportunity to do research that can be specific to you if you learn how to use AI the right way. So I say that because remember that you may be more knowledgeable than your doctor about something you have researched. So you want to have a conversation, you want to start with your OBGYN. If you don't have one, you use the general practitioner, start there. If you're not getting anywhere, if you're literally being stonewalled that, well, it's menopause. Okay, well, that's great. Or, well, no, I don't think HRT is the right thing for you. Or, sure, let's do it. One extreme to the other. I would consider getting another opinion, and functional medicine doctors are awesome, because they will look at the entire person and the root of what is happening. My new doctor is a lifestyle physician. These doctors also are there to look at everything that's going on and approach you from that perspective, not from the very narrow perspective. A naturopath can be very helpful. I've worked with them as well, because they will also look at things from a little bit of and here's the other thing with a naturopath. They may be able to recommend something to you that might have a very similar effect to something on the actual prescription side of things. And if you're suffering with anxiety and depression, then either your doctor or a counselor or a therapist or a psychologist, talk to them, because there's so many prescription drugs out there that you have to balance the two. What is I'll say alternative, and what is medical. You have to balance the two so that you get the best of both, and ask questions. I tell the story in my video all the time that I went on Lexapro last year for anxiety, mood swings. Wonderful drug. The only downside, I put on 12 pounds in 10 months. So again, no one told me, and I got it from my oncologist. And it's funny because I handed them my book. The nurse practitioner, I handed her my book, Dieting Sucks for Women Over 40. They knew my story. They knew I was post-menopause, and they still prescribed a medication that clearly tends to have that result. Anyway, I'm off that, and I went on Wellbutrin. And so there are a lot of things out there. I'm not pushing drugs. I'm just saying you need to understand what's going to work for you, and you need to find a healthcare professional that is going to have the conversation with you.
Yeah, a lot of women don't even realize they haven't made the link with that anxiety or depression with menopause. And finally, people are beginning to talk about it. And it is a very real thing. And no, you're not losing your mind. And yes, there's help out there for you.
Yeah, there is. And it does feel like you're losing your mind. And, when one minute you're happy, the next minute you're crying, the next minute you're yelling, and these bouts of rage. I used to say when I lived in Vegas, I hope nobody cuts me off in traffic, because I have absolutely no idea what I might do. And, it's funny now. It
wasn't then.
It wasn't funny then. And every week I was bringing things to my husband saying, should I try this? What about this? A woman told me about this. I saw this on Facebook. I read about this. And ladies, this is what he would say. Try everything. Because, they don't, they're more clueless than we are. So that also becomes a challenge.
Yeah.
And if you're single and dating, that's another whole adventure, if you will.
Yes.
With
Yes.
menopause. Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about your book.
My book is called Dieting Sucks for Women Over 40. It has my 30 to Life solution in it. It also has a bunch of recipes in the back. It has every chapter talks about a different aspect of the mind games we play with food, trigger foods, a chapter called Going Down the Rabbit Hole, which is, you've been eating the way you want to eat for 3 or 4 days. You go to the office or you go somewhere and somebody has donuts. And for whatever reason, you eat a donut. And now you're spiraling down that rabbit hole and you go and have pizza for lunch. It's very common. I mean, we all do this. Yeah. Then the guilt and the recrimination. And I listened, Lynn, actually, to a recent person you had on who was talking about just this. I was smiling because talk about the same thing. I teach self-hypnosis. At the end of every chapter is a question and a place for you to just make some notes about what you just read and how it might relate to you, about what's going on with your body. The main point of my book is release the weight, minimize menopause symptoms, sleep better, feel better, and keep the weight off while still enjoying food and life and all of that fun stuff.
And is it available on Amazon?
It's available on Amazon or anywhere you buy books online.
Great.
Yeah, it certainly is. Thank you. It's a pink cover.
Yeah, I'll put a picture of it in the show notes because it's very pretty. Yeah. Yes. So if there was just one thing that you could tell women today that would really help them, what would that be?
One thing I would
Sorry, one thing.
One thing. You are not broken. You are becoming. And that is something I say all the time. The other thing you'll find in my book and you'll find wherever I'm writing is, you are a warrior and your journey is real. The second part of that statement is key. Being seen and being heard. It's real. Menopause is a real thing. And unfortunately, puberty, we're given a lot of information and we talk about it. We even have the health classes, health in school. Pregnancy, I mean, you could, books, brochures, your doctor's giving you vitamins and tons of information. And for whatever reason, we get to this perimenopause, menopause time, and like Lynn, you were saying, it's a black hole. So that's what I would say. This is real. You are experiencing real symptoms. It is a natural biological transition. That doesn't mean you have to suffer. And it doesn't mean you can take this period of your life and really, as Lynn stated, make it incredibly creative and freeing.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. To me, it's also a time for joy because I think we've been so stuck in all of our responsibilities that we have forgotten. I know this has been so for me. We've forgotten how to have joy in our life and really making time for yourself to experience that joy and to enjoy life again to the fullest. Yeah.
I could not agree more. Yes.
The only thing that we're promised is this moment. So let's live in the moment and make the most of it.
I couldn't agree more. And I often will put a post on that says, what will awe you today? Because there's always
Mhm.
something, whether it's nature or a child use whatever it is. What is it that you're going to have that wow moment? If we're open to it, we will find it every day.
Mhm.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on with us, Debbie. I will put all of your links in the show notes so that people can reach out to you or grab a copy of your book. Um, I think having books like this is just so important to us during this phase so that we can learn all that we can. And that way you learn to be your own advocate when you do have to visit the doctor.
That's it. And thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, my pleasure.